The Beast Tamer Academy gave every cadet an egg. Riku was handed the one nobody wanted. When the shell splintered, light bled through. Light that had no place in a common hatchling. A creature the size of his palm opened eyes like molten gold. It coiled around his thumb, silent and impossibly warm.
What are you? No egg in the registry looked like this.
The creature stared back with a gaze far too old for a newborn. The broken shell flared. An ancient rune burned into the air, then vanished. In the vault of the Northern Kingdom, a crystal that had slept for centuries shattered without warning. The same crack spidered through its twins in the east and west, all three splintering in the same heartbeat. King Aldrich rose from his throne, the shards still vibrating on his war table.
Find source. Kill the child. Quietly.
In 1 week, the creature outgrew every cage Riku owned. It spat golden lightning that could punch through stone.
They're all watching now. Can't hide you in my coat much longer.
Rumors slid through the dormitories like poison. The cadet with the dead last egg was hiding a monster. On the 7th night, a shadow detached from the rooftop across the quad. Riku woke to the hiss of his dragon and cold steel arcing toward his throat.
You think I'd be easy prey? This academy taught every cadet to fight.
The assassin's body was found in the courtyard at dawn, throat torn by something smaller than a hawk. The next night, 2 came. The night after, 3. The academy was under quiet siege.
They're not stopping. Every shadow in this hallway feels like a knife now.
Riku stopped sleeping. The dragon grew to the size of a hound and learned to kill without being told. The headmaster sent a raven north under a moonless sky. Riku's location, sold for a promise of protection.
Wounds closing too slow. Another night like last week, and I won't stand back up.
On the 11th night, they came in numbers. Riku parried 2 blades, but a third slipped past his guard. A staff cracked the assassin's wrist before the blade landed. An old man stepped from the dark.
That is not a lizard boy. That is the last primordial dragon, and every kingdom wants you dead for it.
Before Riku could answer, Akari pulled him through the hidden door and sealed it with a rune that glowed like the egg. They emerged in a cave deep in the eastern foothills. The dragon, now tall as a warhorse, curled around them, vigilant.
Primordial dragons were hunted to extinction 3,000 years ago. A single adult could erase a kingdom in a day. 3,000 years. And now every kingdom on the continent is hunting a cadet who can't even pass the advanced taming exam. The academy is already breached. We move deeper into the wilds at first light, or they'll box us in by noon.
They pushed into the eastern wilds as the sky bruised purple. The dragon crashed ahead, flattening ferns tall as a man.
Keep your eyes on the canopy. The kingdom sent scouts who move through the trees faster than horses.
Riku dragged branches behind them, but the dragon's claws gouged bark deep enough to mark a path. The trail was unmistakable.
The cadets back at the academy. Did the headmaster sell them out too? Or just me?
Behind them, ravens stitched the kingdoms together. King Aldrich was named commander of the coalition, though his steel-gray eyes held no hunger for the hunt.
3 kingdoms, 1 target. I never thought I'd unite anything but a flock of grain mice.
They crossed the Serpent's Gorge, on the dragon's back. Its wings not yet strong enough to fly, but enough to glide the gap.
There's a sanctuary deeper in. It was abandoned after the last purge. We seal ourselves inside, or we die on the move.
On the 5th evening, watchfires flickered on the ridge behind them. The coalition had found their scent.
They're not stopping. Neither will we, but how long can we run on no sleep and stolen rations?
In a hidden valley, Akari began to train Riku not as a cadet, but as the anchor of a primordial bond.
Your will flows into it, and its will into you. Feel the tether, or the beast will overwhelm you.
The dragon's wings snapped open and caught the updraft for the first time, gold lightning arcing across its pinions.
Nyx, that's your name. Nightborn and made of storm, 3,000 years ago. A primordial dragon ruled the continent, a king. Then a curse shattered his line.
The kingdoms banded together and hunted every last hatchling. The species was declared extinct.
The sanctuary is half a day south. If it still stands, we may buy weeks.
They reached the sanctuary at dusk. The gates were torn open, the inner chambers still smoking.
The Coalition got here first. They're not just following tracks, they know exactly where we're heading.
There was no time to mourn. Nyx pressed against Riku's side, and they vanished into the darkening trees. By dawn, they found a lone hut among the brambles, smoke threading from its chimney. A hermit watched them approach with eyes too sharp for a recluse. The hermit's gaze locked on Nyx. His cracked lips parted, not in fear, but in hunger.
He knows. One word from him, and the Coalition will be on us before noon.
Before Riku could act, the hermit grabbed a birdcage hidden beside the door. A raven inside ruffled its wings.
Put it down. You won't barter with our lives.
The hermit dropped the cage, but not before the raven had already flown. A small scroll was missing from the bird's leg. Within hours, dust rose on the western horizon. The Coalition had found them.
Move. The cliffs are the only ground we can hold. A sheer drop at our backs. An army at our front. Not exactly how I planned to graduate.
They ran until the ground gave way to sky, the eastern cliffs, and the sea beyond. Behind them, the horns of the Coalition sounded. The cliff edge crumbled under Riku's boots. Below, the sea smashed against rocks 300 feet down.
Nyx could glide, but those archers on the ridge would fill the sky with arrows before we made it 10 feet. Listen to me. I will hold the path. You and Nyx go over the edge. Use the updrafts and pray. I am not leaving you to die on a cliff for me. We're not splitting up now. This isn't a choice, boy. It's a trade. One old man for the last primordial dragon. He means it. He'd let them cut him down just to buy us seconds, but I won't carry that. Then we make our stand here. Nyx and I didn't survive 2 weeks of assassins to fold now.
The Coalition advanced, a wall of shields, spears, and banners from 3 kingdoms. Aldrich's standard at the center.
Stubborn fool. He would have made a terrible student and a worse martyr. But perhaps the best hope we have.
The first arrow whistled past Riku's ear and shattered against the cliff stone. The stand had begun. The Coalition halted 10 paces from the cliff. 3 kings dismounted, their banners heavy with rain and salt.
Aldrich himself, the one who gave the kill order. He doesn't look eager, though.
The other 2 kings drew weapons and shouted commands. But Aldrich did not move. His gaze was fixed on Nyx. Nyx had gone utterly still. The hackles on its neck lowered. Its golden eyes, for the first time since hatching, did not mirror Riku's.
Nyx? What's wrong? Why aren't you baring your teeth?
A low rumble rose from the dragon's chest, not a growl, but something deeper, something ancient.
That sound. I've only heard it in the old songs. It's recognition. Recognition of what? He's the enemy.
The battlefield froze. Even the wind held its breath. Nyx took a step toward the king, head bowed. The dragon wasn't defending. It was offering fealty.
That king. He was once the primordial king. Reincarnated. Cursed to forget. Reincarnated. The dragon recognized the king because it knew his soul.
The other kings bellowed for blood, but Aldrich's hand never moved toward his hilt.
Why does my chest ache? What is this creature to me?
The dragon took another step, head sinking lower, and uncertainty rippled through the Coalition's front line. He's betraying us, the Eastern King spat, but his own soldiers looked to Aldrich, not to him.
He's holding them back. Without a word.
Aldrich raised a hand, the signal for his troops to stand down. The gesture was instinctive, and it horrified the other kings. Nyx emitted a low, keening note, and for the first time, Aldrich's lips parted as if to answer. The cliff edge became a fragile pocket of silence. The dragon bowed, and the king did not look away. Nyx lowered its head to the stone, and a golden pulse rippled from its horns, a wave of light that washed over King Aldrich. Aldrich staggered as the light hit him. His pupils dilated, and his breath stopped. In a single heartbeat, he saw a throne of obsidian, a betrayal by his own kind, and a curse that ripped his soul from its wings. He dropped to his knees, gauntleted hands clutching his head. The coalition's front line froze. The Eastern King screamed an order to fire, but the archers' bowstrings slackened. No one moved.
I remember.
Riku watched the king crumble and realized the army's resolve was crumbling with him.
The curse is cracking. He's remembering, but he's not ready.
The other kings drew steel and spurred forward, but their own captains hesitated, torn between commands. Aldrich remained on his knees, tears carving tracks through blood and salt. The dragon did not move. Aldrich pressed his palms into the stone and rose. The weight of 3,000 years pulled at his frame.
Hold your fire. All of you. This dragon is not your enemy. I am the original king. Cursed to forget, killing the last primordial will seal every kingdom's doom.
The Eastern King spat. Lies. The curse has rotted his mind, but the archers lowered their bows. Shields tilted. The coalition's spine was bending.
He's throwing his crown into the fire for us.
For 3,000 years, you feared what you destroyed. I was the one who gave that order. I will not give it again.
The Southern King drew his sword and spurred his horse forward, but no one followed. His own knights looked away.
Lay down your arms. This boy and his dragon are under my protection.
Silence. Then the first sword clattered to the ground. Then another, spreading through the ranks like a prayer. The Southern King tore a bow from a frozen archer and knocked the arrow himself. He loosed, not at Nyx, at Aldrich. The shaft meant for a dragon's heart flew toward a king's back. Aldrich threw himself wide, arms spread. The arrow punched through his shoulder and pinned him to the cliff stone.
He took that arrow for Nyx, for us.
Akari was already moving. His staff cracked across the Southern King's helm and unhorsed him. Riku reached Aldrich first, pressing his palm against the wound. Golden light leaked between his fingers. Nyx's bond, alive.
The dragon, is it safe?
The Southern King was dragged to the ground by his own captains. The Eastern King lowered his head. The coalition, leaderless, looked to the only king still standing, even bleeding, even pinned. Aldrich. Nyx curled around them, a wall of obsidian and gold, and keened a note that sounded like mourning. Riku pressed his palm harder against the wound. Golden light bled from Nyx's horns and knitted torn flesh. The arrow shaft splintered and fell. Aldrich gasped, and his eyes, which had held centuries, cleared.
The curse. I can feel it lifting. I remember everything. I will abdicate. I will spend my remaining years restoring what I destroyed.
A murmur started in the ranks, not confusion, but a dawning roar. Soldiers beat their shields. The Eastern King, broken, knelt. The coalition's banners were lowered, and a horn blew the ceasefire. Riku stood at the cliff's edge, watching the impossible peace. Akari leaned on his staff, silent tears on his cheeks.
This dragon and this boy are under the protection of the former crown. Let anyone who disagrees answer to me.
Nyx uncoiled, stretched its wings, and trumpeted a call that rolled over the water, a sound not heard in 3 millennia. And in that moment, under the new sun, the hunt that had spanned a continent finally ended. The coalition melted away into the hills, and Riku, Akari, and Nyx rode with Aldrich toward his capital. Weeks passed in the grand halls. Envoys from every kingdom debated terms, but Nyx's shadow across the council floor silenced the hardest voices.
No more hunts. No more purges. Any primordial egg found will be protected by law. This treaty will be the first stone.
He's giving up everything to make this right, even his crown.
Hardliners in the eastern provinces sent threats, but the sight of a primordial dragon perched on the palace roof kept rebellion a whisper. The treaty was drafted, a document inscribed with the rune of the first Dragon King. Aldrich pressed his seal into the wax. Then, before the court, Aldrich lifted the crown from his head and set it on the empty throne.
I am no longer a king. I am a guardian, and I will spend my days ensuring this treaty holds.
Riku stood beside Akari, watching the man who had once ordered his death now become his staunchest ally. The crown rested on velvet, and in that quiet moment, the war that had consumed a continent was truly over. On the day of the signing, Riku and Nyx stood at the center of the public square, surrounded by thousands who once wished them dead. Aldrich, in a simple gray cloak, watched from the crowd's edge. No crown, no guards, just a man.
He gave up everything for this treaty, and now he just watches.
The treaty was signed with a quill dipped in ink mixed with Nyx's golden light. The dragon bowed. A roar shook the city, not of war, but of joy. The sky was clear.
My work is finished, boy.
Riku spun, but Akari was already 3 steps back, his staff wrapped. Before Riku could voice his thanks, Akari melted into the celebrating crowd and was not seen again.
He never asked for anything, not even a goodbye.
Riku turned back to Nyx, the treaty sealed, the war truly over, and the future suddenly, startlingly his. Months after the treaty, Riku and Nyx became a familiar sight, guardians drifting above the healed wilds. Aldrich, now a scholar, spent his days in archives older than the kingdoms, piecing together the lost history of the Primordials. One night, his fingers trembled over a parchment, a map to vaults where eggs were hidden after the purge. By dawn, a raven was winging toward Riku with a single scrawled note. There may be more. Riku landed in the archive courtyard before the ink was dry, Nyx folding its wings like storm clouds settling.
Here, vaults sealed by acolytes of the Dragon King. If one egg survived, others might have.
Another egg. Another chance to undo the extinction.
Find them. I'll hold the peace here. You and Nyx are the only ones who can.
We'll bring them home. Every last one.
By nightfall, 2 shapes cut across the moon. A boy and his dragon, chasing the hope of a species. The village where Akari was born lay still among the cedars. An elder met them at the gate Akari had passed peacefully. In his cottage, a sealed letter waited. The wax bore his beastward rune. His words were steady. Riku, the curse meant to erase all primordials. Nyx broke it. Protect them. Others may exist. Find them. Riku pressed the letter to his chest. Akari's work had always been about more than one dragon.
Protect them. The whole species. He saw this coming.
Nyx raised its head, a deep rumble turning into a keen.
You sense something. Another egg.
The dragon's gaze locked on the northern peaks. A golden pulse beat in its throat. Nyx took a step toward the wilds, then looked back, waiting. Riku swung onto Nyx's back. Akari's final lesson would begin at the edge of everything. Nyx led them to a crack in the mountain face that Riku never would have found. The narrow passage opened into a cavern, its walls frozen with petroglyphs of primordial dragons in flight. At the center, a pedestal of black glass held a single egg, the twin of the one Riku cracked in his dormitory.
Another Nyx, or perhaps something different, but alive.
Nyx stepped forward, lowering its head until its snout nearly touched the shell. A low, trembling croon filled the silence. The egg answered. A golden vein lit beneath the shell, pulsing in time with Nyx's heartbeat. The primordial rune that had flared when Nyx hatched now kindled on this egg's surface, unbroken, but alive. Riku didn't speak. He watched the light crack along the shell like dawn splitting night, and for a moment, everything was possible. Nyx lifted its head and looked back at Riku. Golden eyes wet. Something in the bonds said, soon. Riku knelt beside the pedestal, not to take the egg, but to wait. The species would not end today. The crack spread like lightning. A seam of gold, then a rupture of silver light. A tiny claw, white as snow, punched through the shell. The egg split apart. The hatchling was not obsidian like Nyx. It was pearl white, with veins of silver lightning curling down its spine. It opened eyes the color of the moon, and let out a cry that echoed in the ancient chamber. Nyx lowered its great head and nuzzled the hatchling, a sound like chimes rumbling from its chest.
2 of them. The line continues.
Riku laughed, a short, disbelieving sound that broke into something warm. He scooped the hatchling into his palm, and it coiled around his wrist as Nyx had once done. For the first time since the egg cracked in his dormitory, the weight on his chest felt lighter. Outside, the sun was rising. They were no longer the last. Riku and Nyx landed in the capital courtyard. The white hatchling curled asleep against his collar. Aldrich was already there. A scholar's robe, no crown, but his eyes were brighter than any jewel.
It's true. You found another, and she's beautiful.
He reached out a trembling hand, and the hatchling opened its silver eyes and chirped. Tears spilled down the old king's cheeks, and he made no effort to hide them. That evening, the council amended the treaty. Every dragon, born or yet to be born, was protected. No exceptions. The crowds gathered to see the new dragon, and for the first time, they cheered instead of fled.
We'll keep looking. These mountains hold more secrets, and I won't stop until every egg is found.
Then go. I'll hold the peace here until there's no need for a treaty at all.
They rose above the city, above the walls, and headed into the wilderness. A dragon rider, a primordial, and a hatchling, chasing a future no one believed possible. Years after the treaty, the eastern wilds were a sanctuary, not a battlefield. Riku stood with silver in his hair, Nyx still vigilant at his side, and watched two fledgling primordials tumble through the clouds. Aldrich, frail but smiling, kept watch from a stone bench, a book of dragon lore open in his lap. A hatchling smaller than a cat pounced on his boot. The old king laughed.
So this is what the promise looks like. Not a battle, not a flight, just this.
Children who had never known a hunt fed fish to dragons by the stream. The treaty was not parchment anymore. It was alive. One girl, no older than Riku, had been with his junk egg, reached out and touched the white dragon's snout. It nuzzled her palm.
You are getting soft.
Nyx only closed its golden eyes and leaned into the wind, and Riku knew. The hunt that started in a dormitory had ended in a home. Riku swung onto Nyx's back, and the white dragon, now nearly full grown, followed with a young rider of its own. Together, they rose over the ridge, wings beating in tandem, silhouettes against the melting sun. Below, the eastern wilds were alive, rivers of green, villages where dragons walked among the people. In a field, a child pointed skyward, and the dragon she was feeding answered with a joyful roar.
This is what it was for. Every scar, every night, without sleep.
Nyx turned its head, golden eyes meeting his, and in the bond between them was only peace. The white dragon and its rider pulled alongside them, and the four flew in a slow arc across the sky. The camera pulled back and back, until they were flecks of gold on a canvas of clouds. Across the continent, other dragons lifted into the dusk. A new era, born from a junk egg and a boy who refused to let go. And as the sun touched the horizon, Riku and Nyx became one with the light.